Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thrive stream for release 7.1. Yeah, 7.1. A lot of exciting things to bring to you. We have a pretty good cast of people with microphones here, so it'll be a pretty fun Thrive stream. We can go ahead and begin with
I think someone
introductions.
has the live stream open and is playing the audio again.
Yeah, I heard my echo. I think it's better now. Oh, okay. We can go ahead with introductions for the developers here. Starting from top to bottom, we have Aaron McKirsch.
Hello.
If you want to talk about what you did,
Yeah.
your role, and
Sorry.
everything.
So I'm Aaron, and I'm on the sound team. And this update, I contributed one of the two new themes for the game. I made the new Tide Pool theme, and I also was one of the non-programmers experimenting with various graphic stuff. And I'm very excited to see this update come out.
Yep. He has a modding or a mod that's pretty famous or a fork that's pretty famous in the community, so you might recognize him from there. Next up is my boss, Buckley. Next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Buckley. I'm the team lead of the design team, which consists basically just me and our talented Deuce here, who's currently listing everyone off. Unfortunately, I haven't really been active lately, so I basically did not touch anything in this update. I am very proud of what everybody's been doing. I can't wait to get my hands on Thrive once again, once I'm done with college matters.
There we go. Up next is C09. He prefers typing. I'll give just a brief. He's a hobby as a programmer. He's done a lot of good work, especially with the experimental feature regarding the dynamic compounds, and there's a lot of other here and there issues he picks up and does a good job of introducing that. If he wants to type more, of course he can, but I'll just introduce myself too since I'm next. I'm Deuce. I help with the design, allow concepts and things like that. This release, I helped with the distortion shaders, which affect the backgrounds. And yeah, it was a pretty productive release for everyone. And next up, I'll go to Hexa Philosopher, if you want to speak.
Hi, yeah, I'm Hexapod. Been doing various graphical things since the last patch. I'm actually forgetting if this was included in the last patch or not, but I replaced the ice shard with multiple ice chunks of different sizes. I've done improvements to the visuals for space and the industrial stage. Added the hydrogenase organelle. I've done replacements for most of the icons, for compounds, and for the patch map. And I started working on revamps for pretty much all of the organelles, but it's become such a big thing that I'm still working on it. Yeah, I was just this evening starting to work on the cilia, trying to make it a single model to make it more efficient. But I've had to remake most of the animation, unfortunately, which has been quite tricky to do.
Yeah, a lot of the recent improvements to graphics can be traced back to him, especially a lot of the assets. So that's a lot of the fresh new look Thrive is beginning to get. And next up is Hirelanen, our powerhouse.
Hello. Give me 1 second. YouTube is saying my streaming bitrate is too low, so I'll turn off the stream for like 1 second and see the new option. It should be live now with higher bitrate.
Yeah, seems to be working for me, at least.
The stream's just buffered for me. So.
Hmm.
The warning will probably go away. Anyway, so everyone, I'm the lead programmer for the game, so do a lot of reviewing others' work and also do many of the major features myself, like most of the GUI stuff and Auto Evo graphical report improvements. Those were done by me for this release.
Yep. A lot of the progress in Thrive was done through his hands, so it's very important for this development team. Next up, Ioso, who pretty recently joined us just now.
Yeah, guys, sorry for the late join, but I had some stuff to do and I just want to be here, And yeah, I am currently, working on the C++ implementation of the Compound Cloud system, but so far it's been a pretty tiring endeavor. Yeah, I am still looking closely to any stuff related to the development, and it's quite exciting, so far because of the things we previously discussed too. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining, even if it's a bit late.
I apologize.
No, there's no need to apologize. Just if you're able to join whenever you can during Thrive streams, then there's no issue joining late.
Where's the party?
Yeah, exactly. And up next is one of our newer members of the development team, Mr. 42.
Yep, that's me. Yeah, I'm going to do the community stuff, like events, like the one we had recently. You can see it on our Discord or, you know. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous, but yeah, I will work on more context, and there are already plans for a future one.
Great. Yeah, and
Yep.
no worries about being nervous, first Thrive stream and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and the robot at the end is Revolution Music, who plays our music during the Thrive streams. So he's introduced himself plenty. And now we head towards update notes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's usually the next topic, though. I guess I could maybe ask at this point that is the live stream quality looking fine?
Seems fine to me.
Like this time, because I've selected the low latency mode and I'm streaming with the AV1 codec now. So it might be slightly different. Hopefully it's better. Better if it is different.
The visuals seems fine. I don't know about the audio. I assume there'll only really be an issue if we start like videoing or streaming something that actually moves around a lot rather than still images.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Usually the stream encoding quality is not super important.
Yeah, I don't see anything about the audio in the chat as of now, so I think that's good as well.
I mean, the audio should be the same, but I think I forgot to turn on my audio, so some of my first comments before my self-introduction the stream, but
Okay, cool. All right, and we can head straight into the major points of the release this time around. I'll cover that too, though. If anyone wants to step in at any point, go ahead. Whenever. Perhaps the focus of the update has been enhancements on our GUI and our user interface and auto evo reports. And perhaps the most significant change is the appearance of the food chain tab, which is a very long requested feature for a while now. It allows you essentially now to see a food web and food chain of your entire patch that you inhabit currently. and see where organisms are getting their energy from. The rough trophic levels being represented, who's at the top of the food chain, who's a producer,
Do we have any
aspects
image
like
of
that. Sorry?
I'm just kind of mumbling to myself and trying to find an image of that.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's an image of a very desolated food chain in a patch.
Perfect.
Nice. Yeah, and seems like Aaron is destroying that patch pretty
This
well.
is a healthy ecosystem.
Yeah, kind of. But yeah, you can see a lot of this is a pretty extensive producer ecosystem we have here that Aaron just destroyed in one generation. But yeah, it's a very cool feature to see that's finally in Thrive.
They tasted yummy.
Yeah, there we go. And along with that food chain edit or introduction, there's also been tweaks to the auto evo report itself to make it a lot more visual based, so that players can more easily see, what organism is being addressed, what organism is who, and their population changes and generic information about them. Does anyone have any other comments on that, or I know Harleen worked on it, so.
You
There's a
were
mystery
talking
icon.
about the food chain app stuff, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, food chain and visual auto evo report.
Yeah, it was surprisingly difficult to find a good craft laying out library for C#. I did eventually find a good one that has like 8 different craft types in it that could be tried, but I think the current algorithm is pretty fine, though it doesn't like fully adhere to like heterotrophic levels, because you can have like the glucose icon on the same level as a species, so someone might complain about that, but if someone does, then I'll tell them to go in the code and switch the algorithm and see if it's better.
Yeah, a little do-it-yourself moment.
I'd like to point out, because I think someone in the live stream asked or commented on it, but the red X's on all those species signifies that they went extinct this generation. I know that it shows red X's on all of the producers, but that's what that is.
Yeah. So just a great bit of death you induced. And yeah, along with the reports, there's been some tweaks to the organism statistics tab in the editor, allowing you to better understand, your equilibrium when moving, when at rest, with or without certain compounds. Nothing too dramatic of a change, but it helps players kind of understand the interface a bit better. And beyond the immediate focus of the 0.7 update family, Thrive, there's also been a pretty good amount of work on the graphical side of things. 3D membranes, especially, were kind of introduced in the current update, which makes them look a lot better. Instead of being more flat images, they are actually, cells are actually now physical 3D entities that look like, cells. So it's a very welcome and long progressive change to the visual of Thrive. And if Deligger was here, he would better explain that than me, but I guess he's not here, so.
All I can say is it looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, it really does.
Like I honestly I didn't really pay much close attention to the graphical updates until I watched a trailer, and it just blew me away how much of the change it was.
Yeah.
They look like real cells now.
Yeah, and with moving on to the next graphical change with the backgrounds enhanced a bit, I think it looks a lot like concept art in some screenshots, where there's now a distortion shader applied to the some layers of the background, making it, the background look like a fluid distorting whatever is behind you. And there are also mobile elements in the background, such as the top layer of bubbles moving around independently instead of with perspective, which essentially means, before, if you stood still, the entire background stood still with you. Now, that's no longer the case, so the entire environment looks very alive.
Yep. And I think the most common comment we've got about the graphics improvements is, wow, this looks like concept art, which is probably the best compliment you can get in terms of a game's graphics.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one in particular that sticks out in my mind. I'll try to find it later in the podcast. But also, Aaron also worked on a bloom effect, which Higher Linen also implemented as a toggleable effect, which makes a lot of the colors pop, and it makes the world look a lot more alive and dynamic.
We have gotten some comments that the bloom is a little bit extreme.
Yeah.
So it is a toggle. My hope is that eventually there can be a slider to adjust the intensity.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
pretty fair comment because the bloom value is set at 1, so 100%
Yep.
of the bloom.
Yeah. And also, just to put it out there, a lot of the visuals are still work in progress a bit. As we mentioned before, bloom can be a bit intense sometimes, and the distortion shader still needs a bit of work, or could use a bit of work to it. So there's still very much visual works in progress, but exciting news and exciting momentum for the graphic side of Thrive. And I just realized, the next feature, I can't believe I didn't mention yet, dynamic environments are beginning to be implemented. With O2 or oxygen and carbon dioxide represented currently in the main version of Thrive, and with a more extensive but unbalanced rendition of it under the experimental feature option when you start the game menu.
I think it was my old nickname. I was Mr. Environments.
Was it you? Who was that?
Yeah.
That was you. Oh wow, look at that. Well, full circle moment right now.
I remember back when your nickname was Mr. Organelle Unlocks.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know that was you this entire time. Well, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. 42 has always been an avid fan of a lot of the concepts that we have ended up implementing.
Wow. So I guess now we have to implement 42 somehow in the game.
Yep.
We'll find a way.
Yeah.
It's the answer.
I'm just waiting for you to feel the need to change your name to Mr. Sexual Reproduction.
Oh no.
Okay. Anyways, before that gets too in-depth of a conversation, we've implemented dynamic environments. The first string of updates are now being implemented with Oxygen. So now the Great Oxygenation event, which is a major request from the community into a major, a very important chapter of life on Earth, can be represented in Thrive, though without environmental tolerances and toxicity and aspects like that. That will be added later. So at any point you start, or when you start a new game of Thrive, you begin on an anoxygenic world with 0 oxygen present in the atmosphere. As photosynthesis arrives on your planet, and as cyanobacteria equivalent organisms begin taking a role in your environment, oxygen will begin to be produced, especially near the surfaces, and then from there they will diffuse downwards into the rest of the ocean, though at varying rates depending on the patch. Currently, with how powerful oxygen is for especially mitochondria and metabolosomes, 2 of our more powerful metabolic processes, it still is a work in progress in terms of balancing and everything. We want to make sure there's not such a abrupt drop of oxygen that just makes progression in the game very difficult. But the beginnings of the process to convert the world into a dynamic, breathing, living simulation alongside with your organisms has begun, which is very exciting news for this project.
I had an idea.
Uh-oh. You want to share it now or cook up
I can share it
later?
later.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I'd say those are the major features. There are a lot of other smaller features too implemented, like adjustable flagella length, which modifies energy usage and speed. And oh my god, oh man, ignoring what Mr. 42 just said. Does anyone have any other updates that they want to bring up or modifications?
As you can see, we remade a bunch of icons, the temperature,
Yeah.
nitrogen, and many others that I believe made the game look better in some way.
Yeah, I think Hexpot did a lot of that work, or Lift, right?
Yeah, Hexbot really did a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some of them that I kind of slightly redesigned, and then Mister provided quite a few, and I just did a lot of converting into SVGs, and then there are a few that I kind of mostly did from scratch. But yeah, it was mostly just kind of slight tweaks here and there, really.
Yeah, and the Nexus
And then
Thrive look a lot more professional.
Yeah, there was a lot of tweaking to get it to actually show up properly in game. There were lots of problems with using it in Godot.
Oh yeah, and another thing that could be cool to bring up are convolution services for the representation of macroscopic organisms, which basically applies skin to the metabols you create in the creature editor. It's been improved a bit where the models are now more high resolution with minimum performance impact. So people can now make a lot more refined looking organisms that look a bit more defined. Anything else people want to bring up, or
I
does it
think
sound
that's
good?
something we haven't touched on yet is modifying flagella lengths, or modifiable flagella lengths.
Oh, I mentioned it briefly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think those are cool because they let you sort of finely control the exact amount of ATP you're using for movement, and they let you create the sort of like long, graceful flagella that you often see in concept art.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else, or have they covered a lot of the big bases? As always, the full list of changes can be seen on GitHub or through the dev blog itself, which has a link to the GitHub, so that can be accessed at any time from the community. Or new loading images for game by Mr. 42 himself.
Yeah, I think that sums up the major changes in the update, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay. Cool. And if anyone wants to bring anything else up in later portions of the stream, go ahead by any means. But I guess now we move on.
You can see in that
Sorry.
screenshot one of the many fixes is that the loading screen spinner now actually works properly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I noticed that when I was playing Thrive a bit ago, and I liked the kind of, I don't know, it was almost retro, the vibe it gave, so I like that. Okay, I think we can. Should we move on to our competition discussion or the questions?
Yeah. Let's move to the art competition results because there's so many small changes that if we list them, it's going to take way too long.
Yeah.
I prepared to show on stream all the winners and the runner-ups.
Let me send it in the chat.
By the way, if someone is able to keep track of the questions in the live stream, if possible, I see a few questions popping up, though not too many, so we can come to that later in the stream.
Yeah, no worries. Usually game dungeons on top of that, but
Yeah.
alas, they are not with us today.
So yeah, that's the first place. By Zorkman, Retired Dev and Mod.
That's very nice.
Yeah. I'd say so.
I really love the texture they've managed to convey in the image. Especially the sand. The impressions in the sand are excellently done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks nice.
I like
So,
how it does. Oh, my bad.
no, yeah, no, you can go ahead.
I was only gonna say I like how the animal looks almost fish-like, but not quite. So it's a nice little change.
Yeah, that's nice. So yeah, the second place is by Trappist 1E. An orange fish slug, I guess, that's crawling out the water. I'd say it's nice. I
Yeah.
like the grass, the texture of it.
Gotta say, this one's definitely a little bit better adapted to land. A little further along the exploratory efforts in terms of biology.
And the third place. Yep, more legs, more speed. Exactly. For the third place, we actually have two winners.
Oh,
A
wow.
clay model by Retham Roy. I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong. And this glowing fish-like amphibian by Kefker.
Very nice. I like the different mediums people chose.
Yeah, same here. But what's interesting that there were quite a few submissions that were really close to winning the third place, and I think you can give it a second try and probably win.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually everyone did a great job.
Honestly, a huge fan of the arthropod. Like Kefkor. I know that would taken a while. It actually has some excellent detail in the tail with all the limbs. They actually pulled off the segmentation very well with that tail.
Yeah. Was it Kefkor who made the oh wow, those are all the
Oh, my
submissions.
bad, I got the names confused. That is in fact Raiden Roy.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
But
big
Kefkor's
fan
work
of
is
that.
also very nice.
I would
I like the
love to
bioluminescence.
see more sculptures and things like that. It's a great medium to work in.
Number 6 in the little panorama looks very cute. 3 is very very different animal.
It kind of reminds me, makes me think of what a I guess that's what a coccolithophore would look like if it evolved into multicellularity.
Okay, let me look that up. Coco. Yeah.
Can you send the image, please?
Yeah. I remember these guys.
Yep, our favorite photosynthetic rocks.
Oh, these guys.
Yeah.
Yep, basically
Yeah,
just
these
algae
ones.
that forms little calcium carbonate plates all over itself.
That's actually
Very important in the formation of chalk.
Yeah, but everyone did a great job with the art submissions. It was really, really like different styles. I really like the different styles and all the different creatures on display. Good job, everyone involved. Yeah.
So yeah, I will say the art competition, as it was hosted, is definitely a bit of an experimental thing. It's a bit of a learning process as we try kind of test the waters and see how we can better manage it in the future.
Yeah, we used to have older art competitions, but those slowed down after a while and weren't apparent.
Yeah.
So Mr. 42 is doing a good job of picking that back up and then learning with everything
Yeah,
going on.
doing my best. This one was a bit chaotic. You know. First, they didn't have access to Discord, but it's all sorted out. And thank you everyone who helped with it. Buckley, HH, thank you.
Great job, everyone. I say we should now move on to questions so that we can make sure to address most of them. Oh yeah, that is
yeah.
the concept art I was talking about.
Yeah, one more thing I forgot. Like Mr. 42, will you like? I already asked you to ask the winners about like their socials if they want their art to be posted by us to
Oh, right.
more people. And
Right.
I think you should also ask about the rewards offered. So as the top 4, I think, like if they want any custom titles or get a reward role on our Discord, so we can set those up.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll ask everyone. So your prizes will be given out soon.
Yeah. Good job, everyone.
Yep.
Okay. Now we move on to the priority question for the stream, which we have one post on the forums for.
Yeah, the
Wow.
usual Doom Lightning.
Yeah,
questions.
Doom Lightning.
Was
There,
been
all
very
the time.
very consistent in being the most active VIP patron.
Thank you, Dune Lightning.
Yeah. Okay. Is it showing on the stream or?
Yeah, it should be. I just adjusted the things, so instead of showing
Okay.
the art contest winners, there should be the priority questions.
Okay. I'll begin going through the questions now, if everyone's good with that. Well, first, Doom Lightning says, is one of our patron supporters, so thank you very much, Doom Lightning, for being there. We will show a link later in the stream if you guys want to donate and support Thrive's development, because we do need support. It'll be very important for progression of Thrive.
Well, I can post it right now.
Okay, well, it's being posted right now. But as that's being done, I'll read through the post. Doom Lightning says that was the fastest upgrade that has happened since I've been your VOP supporter. Oh, someone joined. Oh, Tim.
I have no context.
Hello, welcome. We're going through the first bits of question. The priority questions for the stream. Okay. Tim is one of our programmers. He was especially helpful for bringing forward the new Mish Auto Eagle simulation. Yeah. The first question from Doom Lightning is, what do you think is the most complex thing you've worked on for this current version, being one of your fastest releases to date? I think Karlinen would be a good job at answering that question.
Yeah. I think, well, maybe actually the food chain layout thing. Like how do you get the nodes in the graph to be so that they don't overlap and the lines kind of make sense without crossing over each other too much. That was like the hardest part, and everything else just basically took some time to make.
Yeah, I assume with the dynamic environments, it might not be the hardest technical work to be done, but it would take a lot of head scratching to make it balanced and properly progressive and things like that.
Yeah, that as well. Like took me like an extra day of development time to get it to sort of balanced. I've already seen everyone posting how they broke physics with more than 100% gas concentrations in total, but I don't care.
That does remind me. Right. The idea I had. I see I haven't really taken a close look on precisely how y'all have currently modeled the atmospheric changes over time. From what I understand, everything kind of moves separately between patches. Is that correct? So some patches have more oxygen than others, and vice versa.
I basically loaned C09's code and tweaked it down to be a lot slower and only affect oxygen and carbon dioxide. And then I tweaked the numbers a bunch to make sure that the final oxygen levels would be around 15 to 25%, and set the nitrogen to 60% so that most of the time things don't overflow, but they can still overflow. So an improvement could be made at some point.
Yeah, the reason I bring that up is, so I know we've briefly discussed a concept in the past, the universal constant for gases. Excuse me, my voice is breaking up. Basically, the ocean, as I've later learned after going through an oceanography course, is a largely homogeneous environment. It's large and wide, and it's mostly the same outside of some more localized effects. So, technically speaking, as oxygen rises in a planet, the ocean should be, for the most part, the same across all patches. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that we can't have certain patches have more or less gases depending on localized activity. After all, you do know what algal blooms do. So, my idea right now would be to kind of combine my later concept of the global atmospheric constant and as well as the current implementation of patch specific conditions. And basically, depending on the rates, you could have a huge jump in gas changes in a localized area, one specific patch, which would kind of make things interesting. But over time, you'd have a much more slowly changing universal constant, which is the main important thing that would determine kind of the baseline of the patch's conditions. So, for instance, you could have a 3 to 4% higher oxygen concentration for about a generation or two in the tide pool environment, whereas over time, after a generation or two, you'd actually see a 3 to 6% increase on top of that worldwide. So that would kind of stagger things a bit, where the changes over time were more slow, but also farther reaching. But you also have more faster changes in the local area.
Yeah, I see what you mean with that. I say if you want to make a concept for that, do it as soon as possible, because I know Harlinen is kind of working on this right now. So we don't want to get too far along a certain idea and then have another one introduced at the last moment, which might be better, but just would be a lot to go back and just rework in a way,
That would certainly be quite a big difference. I did already try to make it so that basically the surface patches are basically uniform, and only like I limit the amount of compounds that can be exchanged between the surface and bottom patches. But otherwise, like the nearby patches, I think at most are like 1 or 2% different. So like the differences are pretty minimal on the surface patches, but then the simulation takes into account the distance in the depth, and that makes the oxygen etc. Take a lot longer to try to reach the bottom of the ocean.
Isn't it weird that we're running out of time before features get completed?
Oh my god. I thought that it would be years before we'd actually catch up to concepts I was making. And now we're running out of concepts and things are actually not designed because we kind of we we didn't design as far ahead as we're actually getting to. Is a bit of the problem we seem to be running into now.
Well,
Yeah,
there are still a lot of later stages, like concepts that like have been designed way beforehand. I think sort of a problem is that things are designed out of order. Like people want to design way late game
yeah.
stuff, but when we are now in the micro stage and we have items on the roadmap that like are not even really designed, like the hydrogen ace, like it was put on the roadmap and it was discussed a tiny bit, but now when I went to implement that organelle, I realized that we don't have like even a finished name for it, what processes it does, what it means. So like that had to be like together really fast.
We discussed it before, but it was more about a mitochondria alteration.
Ah, right, the
Whereas
hydrogen
we needed,
cell, that's right.
yeah, we needed a prokaryotic version of which would be
Right.
hydrogenase. So, but yeah, it's a very interesting phenomena or time of thrive development we're in, and it was very good news for the project. Yeah, it's very good news for the project, but we do want to make sure we sustain that production as much as possible, which is where, donations and contributions are really important for us. So, yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk more about the dynamic environments throughout the stream, but we should try to keep a pace with the questions since last time we did run out of time, or we were running short in time with the questions. So I'll move on a bit. Yeah. Okay. 2 from Doom Lightning. What do you think is more difficult when it comes to strategies for being in the game, corresponding to the microbial and early multicellular stage? Well, it's not photosynthesis.
I hate to say it, I don't even have any bearing on how difficult things are anymore.
Yeah, balancing needs to be a focus.
I haven't touched Thrive in months.
Yeah, I need to get into that mindset.
I mean, it could be that photosynthesis is no longer overpowered with the dynamic CO2 level.
From what I've seen, it seems iron might be the easiest now.
Yeah.
Because iron is in every environment, right?
Not every, but it's kind of a very good source of ATP. And, the iron chunks themselves constantly emit iron. So if you find one, then you're pretty much set with the rest of the game, or the rest of the life cycle, which is kind of why I'm kind of, unless you're nowhere near a rock. It's kind of why I kind of wanted to introduce some sort of scarcity to the iron chunks, but yeah. Maybe iron. I mean, engulfment is pretty difficult. I've heard that historically from the community, where, especially in the beginning of the game, engulfment can be difficult.
Well, you cannot do it before like generation 4 or 5.
Yeah. Which is... Oh, sorry, Aaron, if you want to speak.
Oh, no, you're good. I will say that pulling cilia are a very good addition, and they're so good, in fact, that I don't even like engaging in engulfing other organisms until I have a pulling cilia.
Yeah, until Tim nerfed them.
They're still pretty effective though, even with the nerf. It's
good.
just that you can't really create intercontinental ballistic missiles with them anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It turns out the square of the linear distance fall off in the formula didn't account for less than 1. So if your distance was less than 1, you could get a theoretically infinite level of succularity, if you will.
Oh god.
That's probably what was happening.
Microbial black hole.
Yeah. Cool.
I think that does qualify as accidentally adding singularities to the game.
Yeah, there we go. Ascension stage is achieved.
Black holes were added to Thrive and then removed.
Yeah.
We just weren't ready for them yet.
And it was all done before Space Stage.
Yeah. Look at us, trailblazing. Okay. I'll do question 3 now from Doom Lightning. Give me a satisfaction scale between 1 and 10. 10 means the most satisfaction with general appearance in the game. regarding the following organelles in the game. Oh, okay, there's a list. Hydrogenase. How satisfied are we with it? 1 to 10.
I must apologize for this. I actually don't necessarily like the corn kernel look they have right now. I'd probably give it about a 4.
I like the color.
Color's nice.
Yeah, colors.
I'd say 7. I do like the color, and I like the gameplay depth that it adds, but I feel like the model needs a little bit more work. I like the shape of it, but I don't know. I feel like I'm not a graphics artist, but I feel like there could be improvement there. And also, perhaps it should be a little more. I don't know. The gameplay complexity of it, or of the processes it adds, could be expanded a little bit. But if not, I think it's still a good, solid organelle in addition.
Yeah, I was bugging Harlenen when we were discussing it first, saying I think we should make it a bit more balanced, but for now it definitely does its job, especially since oxygenation had to be introduced very quickly on a short notice.
Yeah,
Okay,
with that change, the
go ahead.
problem is almost the opposite, that the oxygen using parts are way too, or like they aren't efficient enough to warrant switching away from the hydrogenase.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's something for another release. Slime jets. I was satisfied. I like slime jets a lot. I think they're really, really interesting.
10.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah, I agree.
About the hydrogenous, maybe we could drop the cost of it to 40 PM, MP, to sort of combine the slime jets and this new organelle.
Yeah, you
So
mentioned it, maybe. Yeah. You mentioned that before, I remember. That could be something.
yeah,
Me and Buckley need to go through balancing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's been a
Alright.
while. Thylakoids. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, about like maybe summer break or so, I'll probably see if I can get into a nice long gameplay session with Thrive and see what needs to be changed.
I'll try to do one sooner. Thylakoids. I like thylakoids. I think they look very good.
The tiling of a bunch of thylakoids is very nice.
Yeah.
10 from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have worked on changes to the thylakoids, but trying to sort of mostly keep the same look, but make it a bit more efficient, removing extra internal faces and things like that. But I've done changes to that and the chloroplast to get them using the same texture and reducing the sort of unneeded polygons on both of them. But they might need a bit of adjustment. I actually had a lot of trouble trying to make the green in both of them look more similar, but I was having a lot of trouble because of the membrane and the chloroplast. But I did get them using different parts of the same texture for the actual the green parts, so I could certainly adjust that quite easily. But I'm not sure if maybe they look a little bit too solid now. Don't know.
Yeah, that mitochondria looks really nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go through the rest of that question. Yeah, I think we might need to move on a bit, but yeah, I think so far we've gone good overview of things.
Yeah, let's just go on to 4.
Yeah. How do you see the community between the forum here and those on other places, such as Discord, Reddit, etc.? Look different, very similar, or do you feel different in several respects?
I think there's a small difference between the forums and Discord, because I think they naturally pull in different kinds of people. because
Yeah.
most people aren't on both. There are a few forum users that are also on the Discord, but most people who are on the Discord don't seem interested in registering for the forum.
In my head, the people on the Discord have a lot more of a short attention span than those on the community forums. So they can be a lot more funny, but a lot more erratic, I guess.
Well,
Which is
bigger
really, really
difference is
funny.
between the people on Steam and everywhere else, because I think that's the least like committed fan base. So
Yeah.
they usually have, like, if we ask about some opinions, usually the forums and Discord are the same, but Steam might be different. Like they would want us to focus on the prototypes, whereas everyone else is happy with the micro stage being finished soon.
Yeah, I agree. And Reddit can be inconsistent, but I see it sometimes similar as the forums, though with less knowledge of development and everything.
Yeah, and mostly it is just slow. There isn't much activity there, so I don't think it has that much character due to that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Moving on to question 5. In your opinion, which mechanic have you guys added that felt more like a leap of hope than regular edition? Which I assume is asking, which ones made us think, oh wow, Thrive can really be achieved more than other editions.
Huh.
I think, me personally, it's a bit of a silly one, but and I worked a bit on it, but the background's kind of changing. It was something I always nagged about to every single person involved with graphics. And just seeing it be changed was like, oh wow, even the graphics of Thrive can be changed. So it was really cool to see that in game.
Yeah, the distortion looks great.
I think I would have to agree with Deus, but also gameplay-wise, I think the biggest moment for me was seeing the early multicellular prototype get added. With the the editor where you can place various types of cells on a hex grid. I was just amazed that that's in the game, and it really inspired me to see.
Yeah. I think for me also endosymbiosis was a big one, because that was always something, when I joined the community first, was something that I thought would take a lot of work to get right. And to see it be put in the game was like, oh wow, this is a very complex situation solved in a pretty streamlined and manageable way in the game. Oh, and also Film's work on Auto Evo, the refactor, was a very cool kind of exercise in seeing a refactor being done very, very well. So that was also very cool.
Again, Game Dungeon did most of the coding.
Yeah, that's true. And also dynamic environments, I think, really, really are exciting.
Definitely.
Yeah, just one save.
Yeah, Mr. 42 especially, I'm sure is excited.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can really pin that feeling to any specific feature. It's just
Ever the optimist.
everyone just feels like a constant step forward. It just makes
Yeah.
my dream even more realized.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, if no one else has anything, question 6. I know that you have started to think about a plan generator, and I have a question for you regarding this. Which direction do you want to take into account for this generator? More realistic with real data, or more creative, where you give an image and the player can imagine it, or something in between? I think the more creative thing is more maybe I don't know, looser reality, but more customization, whereas the more realistic is kind of more like standard, but a lot more in depth, maybe.
Seems so.
Yeah. I think if anyone else has anything to add, but I'll say I think it's an interesting question with the Planet Editor, because this might be because I'm less knowledgeable in that area than I am in kind of biology, but it feels like that topic or that area, if you tweak one little thing in that atmosphere, maybe the entire science of everything can be blown out, because it's like, oh, what if the oxygen disappears from your atmosphere? What if, this happens? What if your creatures suffocate? What if the environment doesn't last that long? So on and so on and so on. So I think there's a level of simplification and abstraction that we will have to apply to it to make it a lot more approachable and easily understood by the player.
Yeah, basically it's less like determining the conditions of the planet and more so determining the initial conditions of the planet.
Yeah, that's true. I think, in my head, I think the atmosphere will be not consistent, but kind of more Earth-like than most other aspects of Thrive when it comes to the actual, concentration of oxygen, nitrogen, sulfide, carbon dioxide, things like that. Just because, we don't know too many changes from what we know here on Earth. But in terms of temperature and atmosphere, or temperature and, humidity and rain and all that, I can see a lot of variation there because we understand, okay, the effects of different biomes on a climate, in my opinion.
It's definitely a budding science, but it's come leaps and bounds in recent years now that there's a lot more attention to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Something that I'd really like to say that I know is relevant to this question, but I also know will be relevant to a lot of others that'll come up, is that I'm personally really excited for all of Thrive's future planet generation and dynamic environment features, because as far as I know, there's not any games that really have this kind of intended scope. There's games where there's really, really good planet generation and things like that, and there's really good evolution simulator games, but I've just never encountered anything that sort of follows the like codependent evolution of a ecosystem with the life in that ecosystem, especially on a planet-wide scale. And if we can get this right, then it'll really be kind of a first in terms of evolution games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll move on to the final question from Doom Lightning, which is, what is your source of motivation to work on this game? I want to hear this from Harleen because he works the hardest on this game. If it's comfortable sharing,
I think
of course.
I answered like the same question last stream, and I mean, I need to work on the game because I'm getting paid in exchange for that. So that's like I have to work on Thrive. But maybe like talking about the motivation side a bit. I've been like working on Thrive for like 8 years, 20 years,
Wow.
something like that. So I've been really long time doing contributions and hanging around in the community, and like I saw that I have this chance to like work on Thrive as a job, so I took the opportunity to work on a game as a job. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. For me, I personally really like biology, and now you credit. I really like biology.
Sometimes I do regret having to work on Thrive when someone sends in a massive pull request one day before release. So I've promised myself that if someone does that in the future, I just don't review it. It's going to be in the next release after the immediate one.
Yeah, have some boundaries for sure. I was gonna say, with me, I really like biology. This is, the area of questions related to why did this evolve and not this? You know, what are the pluses and minuses of this adaptation? Things like that. And, you know, this is a very fun way of exploring that kind of question. So it kind of is what drives me to be so heavy in conceptualization for this game. And it's a really, you know, Spore was my dream game as a kid. So it's kind of a maturation of that kind of same desire as a kid I had. So it helps it makes me feel like a kid ultimately. If
I
anyone
feel
else,
it.
yeah,
I really like this project, and I hope it can become better. Yeah. And I'm just going to try to involve Ioso, just let more people know about this project, so the development might go a bit faster or something like this.
absolutely. Oh man, the emotional piano is playing as we talk about this. Listen to that.
Right.
I think that Deus pretty eloquently said essentially what my motivation is as well. I'm one of the people that played Spore as a very young kid and was very inspired by it, and I have a pretty strong interest in a lot of areas that the game covers, biology, geology, and those sorts of things. And I also sort of am fulfilling like a childhood dream contributing to the project, and I also just think that the things that Thrive like seeks to be in terms of the simulation and tools that it could eventually have will be a huge asset just in terms of um, like a tool available to people who are interested in speculative biology and subjects like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big draw for me as well. Plus, I have a tendency to get hyperfixated on things, so yeah, something I can contribute a lot to that has a lot of scope and a lot of promise is hard for me to kind of pull myself away from.
Isn't it great? We always had so much to do.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
My to-do list is still growing very quickly.
How many issues are we on with the GitHub? That's
That's
only
not
ones
the
we're
thing about it.
tracking.
500.
707.
Ah,
So over the summer we are up like 200 open issues. Well, not really. I think 150 more like. Still more work piles up than there are people who can do the work.
Let's not talk about our issues. Yeah.
I mean, recently
yes, let's talk about our issues.
I've been telling a few people that like they point out some very minor thing, and I've been like, I'm not going to open an issue about that. No one is going to fix it.
Yeah. Okay. Those are Doom Lightning's questions. I want to read a bit of his post, which I think is very sweet. He says, I can say that this game is part of my life and probably a point that helped me move forward, both by helping me as a source of support in this community, at least in the forum. I can say thank you for giving me the strength to continue forward with my dream so far, and I hope you will continue at your pace and my desire to continue forward. So thank you very much. Very nice. He's going for a master's degree and a thesis, so congratulations. All the best.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, and
Best of luck.
thank you for being the most active VIP patron.
Yeah, absolutely. Stick around as much as you can, but you know, you're on to important things, so.
Yeah, if you need to write a really long thesis, it's fine if you don't post questions for one released live stream.
Yeah, we'll forgive you. Okay. I'll go ahead. No.
I was going to say, if you put all your forum posts end to end, how many theses would you have?
Yeah, he's had some good forum posts, just like on topics, so that's a good question. Okay, should we answer some questions from the live stream, or should we jump straight to the
I
community?
think we should do a few live stream questions. I saw at least one person asking like a gameplay advice thing.
Okay. Does anyone have a list of questions they recorded, or I can skim through?
I mean, I wasn't strictly recording them. I
Oh, okay.
basically just am looking at the beginning of the chat.
Okay.
We didn't have many messages in the chat today, so it's pretty manageable to just scroll through and find the first question.
Okay. Mr. 42.
I can start from here if you
Oh,
want.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the very first question we got in the stream was from Not So Crabmex, who asked, how many turtles named Sheldon can you own in one lifetime? I love that question because it's highly variable. It really just depends on how well you can take care of the turtle. Moving on. When will hydrogen be added? We do not plan on adding hydrogen in its strict sense. It'll probably just be more of an environmental assumption in the other category. Now, in later stages, requiring hydrogen will probably mean that you just need to consume more water to survive outside of an aqueous environment.
Yeah.
Right. Will the industrial stage have war and destruction and all things nice? Absolutely. Let's see.
It's a hallmark of industry, after all. Death and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How close are we to finishing up with the microbe stage? Where are we now? 0.8?
About to be.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
that's going to be most likely the release before Christmas, so...
And to think we just now jumped to 0.7 just 3 months ago.
Much sooner than you might think, yeah.
Before Christmas would be pretty fast. I was imagining early 2025.
We usually have a Christmas release.
And all I can think of is just people just saying like, oh, Thrive, look at it, they're never going anywhere. And you just see us in the distance just sprout legs and start sprinting.
Sprinting towards you. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay. I say
rising...
I'll go ahead. I was going to say we transition towards some community questions and then we go back to the Thrive stream
yes,
questions.
I forgot. I didn't realize we had more questions on the community forums. My bad.
No, those were the priority questions. Yeah.
We can do that. I really think that there was someone asking like some kind of misunderstanding, like really quick one in the YouTube chat. I saw like a little bit ago, but now I couldn't see the question anymore.
Keith in my place, so we'll probably get to it. I'm about kind of towards the beginning of the questions in the YouTube channel. But yes, let's go ahead and switch to the forum questions.
Okay, cool. Doesn't seem to be as many as... Oh, sorry.
I think these first two are pretty good, as these are basically about the next release, which we forgot to talk about yet on this stream.
Oh, yeah.
Yes!
Okay.
We recently had someone, Hyperbolic Hadron.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm drooling over the concepts they have come up with. Now, can't promise it'll see fruition in the coming months, but oh, look at that beauty.
Yeah, it's kind of stirred something up.
Imagine flying here as a bird.
Yeah.
So can anyone watching the stream see this video play, or do they just see an unplayed video while we describe what it looks like?
Hero Lane will play it.
I hit play on the video. We play it once.
But it's, if someone can't see it for some reason, it's essentially a level of detail view for a world generator, which basically is, you know, the 3D stages, world rendering. I don't know how to describe it. It's the world for the 3D stages. It would be. So.
Then we have the patch partitioning.
Yeah, and patch partitioning. So it automatically tries to detect what regions of the world are a specific patch and what biome it is, etc., etc. So, of course, again, it's not, you know, Hyperbolic Hadron himself said, you know, it's not anywhere near completion, and just doing a bit of work on it. and it's more from a software point of view from game design currently. But it is still very exciting to see him come back because he disappeared a year ago, and he came back at this point. Okay, but with that, what things are we looking for to create in 0.8? What's the up next in our roadmap, essentially, as questions?
Well, Game Dungeon is not here, so I guess we can say that he will definitely work on the planet generator.
Yeah.
Assign him
They
that
are
task
already
that
here.
he needs to work on it right now. But on a more serious note, he talked about working on it, so like basically once he gets around to it, then it's going to get into drive. So well, I think he's busy with like real life stuff, so it might take a while. So probably 0.8.0 won't have any of the planet generator important stuff yet.
Yeah.
Just mostly like finishing the 0.7 stuff and maybe picking some interesting parts from the roadmap. But as I wanted to put the release before Christmas, there's not that much time, so to focus on getting the most important stuff from the previous roadmap done, and so that we can move on.
Yeah. Related to the environment, 0.8 is focused entirely on the world and environment and environmental tolerances. So it would probably be a more, with 0.7, we kind of zoom through it. 0.8 will probably take, more time to make sure everything's kind of going as well as it can.
Yeah, well, I mean, depends entirely on how long the planet generator stuff work takes.
Oh yeah, and currents. Are they in 0.8?
Yes, they're on the list.
Uh-oh.
That's gonna be a fun one. Yeah.
But
we
it
had
says only
micro...
if we can get a graphics programmer. So I've written an out for myself here that if there's no one to do the visualization on this, then we are allowed to go forward this item.
I think Nuns mentioned before that the shader itself isn't too hard for the currents. It's just that they're currently too scattered and not structured, so it would kind of be a bit of a mess to visualize them right now.
Basically, my concept above is pretty much just making a funny road generator using segments.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that'll work, but nobody's ever really pitched in any other concepts.
I know in Spore, they represent currents by brightening the background a tiny bit, applying some distortion, and having a lot of particles fly in a certain direction. So maybe that's something we can look at too.
Apologies for the interruption, but I've got to go now. Great live stream. I'm excited to see this update come out, and I'm even more excited to see the 0.8.x development cycle begin.
Great. Well, thank you for stopping by, and see you soon.
Farewell.
Yeah, the good one.
See you.
Cool.
But yeah, we did have currents briefly implemented in the kind of, I don't know what the term for it is even the not the dev build, but on the master branch on GitHub for I think a few days, and it seemed like it was, the basics of it were all there, but it was just very, very chaotic, and it was moving the cells but not necessarily moving the chunks, and there needed to be tweaks to how the cells interacted with it, because I found that it was getting very difficult to test things in game because they kept being dragged along and not necessarily able to sort of swim against the current or anything. But it definitely seems like it's most of the way to being there.
Cool. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I
If
mean,
anyone else, go ahead.
technically, like the feature is not any different than it was 4 or 5 years ago. It's still the exact same, and for the visualization and gameplay reasons, it doesn't affect the microbes currently. But I've confirmed that chunks again are pushed by the current, so it works.
Okay. I didn't realize it had been worked on for that long.
I mean, I've ported it to like two different game engines. I've kept the core logic exactly the same in the current system. So I guess with the God of War update, the underlying noise was slightly changed. So it's ever so slightly different, but the core functionality that look in the noise function for the world position of physics stuff and then add force to them. Like that's the same it's been for like 4 years.
Okay, I think that covers Ednak's question pretty well. I just thought, by the way, he's a supporter. If Ednak, for future streams, if you want to have a priority question answered, you can post it in the dedicated post. But of course, you can post it here as well too. I'll do another question from the community, and then we can go to the live stream a bit. AAAA or A asks, with 0.7 nearly done so soon, how long can we expect to see the plan generation? We kind of talked about this already. Depends on Game Dungeon's availability. But it is an important feature, so once he begins working on it, then we'll see a bit more about what we expect to change, things like that.
Did you read the same question twice? I thought we went to second question.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I think we talked about the plan generator from NMAX, or unless I was completely mistaken. But I think
Well,
we.
I mean, I
that
started
conversation.
by volunteering Game Dungeon to work on it immediately.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. Well,
I mean, I answered the question first, and then we talked about the future releases in general.
Okay. Okay. Well, we already answered it, so.
Yeah,
and his second question
I guess,
is.
It was how many 0.8.x releases there's going to be.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, I'm hoping that it's just 1 or 2, because otherwise we cannot keep to the schedule of finishing micro stage next year.
Yeah.
So I think we'll need to do some drastic measures where I will try to blast through all of the easy issues from the roadmap like immediately, and then all of the difficult stuff will get pushed back to the 0.9 range.
Okay, and that'll help with conceptualization if we need more time to make concepts too.
Yeah, and I hope in the meantime, when I'm trying to pick off all of the issues that I think I can do in a time-effective manner, that some other people will propose stuff like planet generation.
Yeah.
That will take a long time, and maybe the compound toxicity and finishing of the dynamic compound stuff.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay. Our second question is, will black holes be added, and if so, how? Well, they're already in the form of cilia, so.
Check.
But in all seriousness, that's way in the future, and we don't have any current conceptualization about them. I can see them being a source of science in the future stages, considering they're kind of the edge of what we know currently. But we honestly don't know much about the space stage, so if you want, you can make your own concept, and that can be canon for all we care, because it'll be a while before we reach it. Okay. I say move on to some Thrive Stream questions at this point. We'll do 3, I say, and then we'll go back to...
Yeah. Has anyone seen that basic gameplay question. I think someone posted, or was that the one deleted message I saw in the chat?
Was it a question asking how to do something, or
Like it was? I can't remember. It was like some kind of oxygen level or something like that, which is definitely like done in this release. Like sort of
is it
like
our
really basic question.
are rising oxygen levels toxic to unadapted organisms yet? Is that the question potentially? Or
I think that may be it. The answer
okay.
is that no. Or
Yeah, not yet.
They aren't toxic yet.
Yeah, it'd be really difficult.
Someone did ask if the hydrogenosomes are going to be in the next release, or basically in the game at all. Yeah, I'm sure we'll include them at some point, but yeah, probably after we've tweaked the dynamic compounds a bit, because at the moment it's sort of uncertain exactly how they should function.
Yeah, we also decided that the hydrogenase takes more priority, so hydrogenosome will accept if it's not in the full in the game by the end of the roadmap. But you know, it is. I don't want to say much because I'm not a programmer, but it is a relatively easier thing to implement, in my opinion, at least from like a uneducated perspective. So maybe someone else can pick that up as well.
Yeah, the basics of it certainly would be easy to implement. I mean, I implemented the hydrogenase with like basically almost zero ability to actually properly code things in C#.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then someone asked,
it's more a question of deciding how it would function really, and getting that to work with everything else and game balance and so on.
Yeah. Someone asks, is the red X a placeholder? I assume in reference to the food chain tab. Looks kind of strange in my opinion. I think Buckley's response is kind of good there. No promises, but it may see some improvement if someone else decides to get to it. I kind of like it though. It's kind of a, you know, pretty drastic. And then we'll do one more question from the Thrive stream for now. Also, where TF is the oxygen? Are you supposed to evolve cyanobacteria like creatures before animals like ones? Yeah, Buckley says it right. You know, as on Earth's history, plants and autotrophic organisms need to evolve first before extensive oxygenation of the atmosphere. So there's that. Okay, and we can go back to the community forum questions.
I'll add that usually by generation 7 or 8 there is at least one photosynthesizer on the surface.
Alright, I have to go. Y'all have a good one.
Catch you around.
Right.
Just know I am very proud of y'all.
Thanks, Buckley, for handling some of the questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Peace.
See you around. Cool, okay. Deathwake on the community forums asks, how do you guys plan to handle events? Not all events work like a great oxygenation. A lot of things happen on different timescales, like solar flares versus the orbit of a planet, versus the gradual slowing of a planetary rotation due to a moon. So,
did we skip the NNAC questions?
we kind of addressed them through the questions to AAA's answers.
Yeah, well, I was looking forward to explicitly saying that we are following the roadmap. And so far, no items have been totally thrown out of the roadmap, but I think we'll probably need to throw at least a few out. But I'll talk about that properly on the dev forums when it's more relevant to completing the My Hope stage by throwing out a couple of other issues that might not actually improve the game that much, but we could, without them, move to the later stages, like maybe next summer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a good answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now we can go to where you were.
Okay. Well, Deathwake asks how we will handle different planetary events like solar flares or orbiting or gradual slowing of planetary rotation on different timescales. I will first say, by the way, if you guys want to cut me off and say something, I may be answering first, but that's because I'm reading out the questions. So if someone wants to cut me off, go ahead. But some things like the orbit of a planet and the gradual slowing of a planet due to a moon might be, it might affect things like, length of day on a planet, but, it won't have a dramatic change and dynamism throughout gameplay. We're not going to be thinking, okay, we need to make sure we properly simulate the rotation of a moon around a planet during the creature stage, for example. Beyond stats like, length of time, length of day, maybe the tides and how that affects patches. But I remember I posted something earlier on the dev forums where it says, it's kind of really difficult to handle even the Great Oxygenation event because that likely took place in a very relatively short geological time frame, whereas we make big jumps in geology, 100 million years. And so if we have volcanism and things like that, you could theoretically have a volcanic event that takes 300 million years to occur in thrive time, which is not realistic, but is the best way we have of rendering that kind of level of detail for thrive.
Yeah. I think that on a basic level to complete the roadmap item, like we'll pick something like these 3 events, and those can last like maybe 1 to 5 generations on the patch.
Yeah.
They affect the patch conditions. Maybe we will have nice symbols showing the active event. Like you get plus 20 CO2 for 3 generations, but minus 20% sunlight or something like that.
Yeah, there's dev forum posts related to that, so you can also skim through those posts, see more about it. But it might be, a concession we have to make where, the time frame for these events might be longer than they actually are in real life. And the second question Deathwake asks is, I see the Thrive modding tools being really underutilized. If the modding setup is very future-proof, would any sort of rework be in the cards, or do you feel underutilization of the modding tools is not their fault? If not, do you plan to update them manually or fully upgrade them?
Folks, do you mind if I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I have to go too.
Okay.
And I'm so proud of the achievements you made too, and we will keep being updated. And I also greet everyone who is watching this live. Have a nice one, pals.
Great. Well, thank you for joining and catch you around.
Yeah, thanks for being on the stream.
Yeah.
See you, folks. Have a
See
nice
ya.
one.
See you.
I guess I need to answer the modding question because I wrote the modding documentation. So basically, as we already covered, the number of open issues for Thrive grows constantly. So I always have new high priority items entering my to-do list. So it just seems like there's never enough time for me to go back and rewrite the modding documentation a bit to upgrade it for Godot 4. So I've been hoping that someone else would do it, but so far it doesn't seem like it. But I guess eventually either some modern people who can figure things out for themselves and write better information will come along, or I will just decide that, for example, once my hope state is done, that I will take some time away from new features to redo the modding instructions and example mods.
Also, Thrive is being open source. Thrive is in kind of a unique position where if you're capable of modding Thrive, you're also capable of joining the team, which I think is what a lot of people like to do.
We can absorb all of the models once we see their skills, they are prey for the recruiters.
Yeah. So it's a question of, okay, if we're putting this much work into modding, how much is it going to be used realistically for people who will most likely eventually join the development team?
Well, at some point there will be like unrealistic unscientific mods like stuff
Yeah.
that is not going to be accepted into the main game. So at least at some point we'll need to make the modding experience a lot more smooth.
Yeah. I'm sure parts, different, like, assets and things like that could also be added. Like that breakfast mod, that was pretty cool. Okay. I'll go through one more question on the community forums and then go back to some questions on the Thrive stream. Okay. Tabat asks, I heard that God, Harlenen, is planning update to Thrive's official website. So this will be more like utilitarian update in the spirit of adding links to resources / removing abandoned ones, or something else?
It's kind of something else. It's about switching away from the WordPress technology to one that is like unified with the old Dev Center feature set, and it will also have some workflow improvements for us, that like every developer will be able to write page drafts, which are pretty painful to work on right now if Buckley is not available to write something.
Yeah. Okay. And then his second question is, our Revolutionary Games logo is iceberg? I'm not fully sure what that means. Are they asking if the logo is an iceberg, or like the whole iceberg theory things, or?
Well, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know what our logo is
it's about-
supposed to be, really.
I always thought it was like a gem or a rock. But
Mm. I know I heard someone say like the bottom gear represents more societal evolution. It's the T and then like a top swoosh kind of, and a bomb swoosh. The bomb swoosh is more metallic to indicate society stage, whereas the top swoosh is a lot more kind of, I guess, organic to represent the biological side of Thrive. But I don't know how canon that theory is.
I think they meant the Revolutionary Games logo.
Oh, what the? I
Yeah.
completely. Yeah, it's the owl, right?
What?
The
You're owl
Revolutionary
themed?
like Revolutionary Games. I thought it was an owl, but I don't know.
Wasn't
Did owls have a revolution?
I don't know.
They can do revolutions with their heads.
Yeah, that's true.
okay. This
All 360.
Did we name this studio because we just keep going around and around in circles? I thought it was the other kind of revolution.
No, I thought it meant like, oh, we're doing some revolutionary crap right now with Thrive, but
It could be either or both.
Oh, we cursed ourselves. Oh, well, that was the problem.
Once we have the micro stage done, then I think we can rule out some of the meanings of the name.
yeah. I always thought that was
Linear
an owl.
games.
Yeah.
It was the Ben 10
I-
guy all this time.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought it was
But
an
always
owl.
thought of it as sort of a crystal or a meteor, something like that.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Does anyone else see an owl, or am I just kooky?
I can see where it comes from, but not really.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very nice way of saying no. You're crazy.
I mean, I think I've like got the heard about the idea before, like especially like when you just see the small logo, like, and blur it a lot. I think it kind of is like shaped like an owl that would be sitting on a branch or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I can see that.
Yeah. See, I'm not crazy.
Maybe we could have a design contest for that, having
Oh, yeah,
it
that'd be funny.
represented different ways.
Yeah, you need to use the silhouette of the logo.
That'd be a good idea. So, write that down. Write that down.
Yeah, noted.
Okay, we'll do some questions from the Thrive stream now. We'll do 3 about, and then we have I think only one more question on the community forums after this, so we can fully focus on the Thrive stream afterwards.
Yeah, Cos 96 is the last question on the forum.
Okay. Okay. When can we expect to see actual animals and play as them? Yeah, well, animal is a kind of a very Earth-centric term. If you're talking about macroscopic organisms, it's technically a prototype right now, but as Buckley mentions, it's going to be, that part of gameplay is going to be pretty bare bones until we get through the microbe stage and then eventually through the early multicellular stage. So it'll be a bit before then. Might be a question too early to ask, but how do y'all plan to implement decent-looking randomly generated animals in the game? That is the question.
Yeah, maybe the biggest question even surpassing the planet generation.
Yeah, I see this question and procedural animation being the remaining like huge deadlocks and thrives like concepts. So, I posted I think a few months ago at this point now some later editor concepts trying to add more structure to Thrive, but we kind of decided that that might be a bit more too restrictive. But I do think there is a fallback we can always rely on. But, you know, the question is how free and how ambitious can we be with the editor? But yeah, it'll be a while before that question even is tackled. And final question for now from the community. Will you add a muscle so that you can move parts of your multicellular organism independently from themselves? I think, well, it'd be kind of hard to have a muscle simulation feature in Thrive and make fun gameplay. It will turn up a lot like QWOP, I think, where you just you focus more of your energy on moving your organism, basically, before you're, actually worrying about gameplay. But that being said, I think, something like that is attaching specific behaviors to limbs and having designation for limbs that allows different behaviors. So, for example, maybe there could be a grasper limb that can have an independent function attached to it.
Yeah, that's probably as far as we go, because like having like walk style leg buttons you need to press in a sequence to try to move. That's kind of not the focus of Thrive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with internal structures and things like that, it'll be somewhat similar to the microbe stage and multicellular stage right now, where, it defines your statistics and your behaviors and things like that, but outside of some abilities, you don't actually control the metabolism itself. It just runs automatically. I think the same thing will be applied in the macroscopic stage where, your digestion happens, your vision happens, your whatever happens, but you define the structure of your organism, and then the internals determine whether or not that is energetically possible or anatomically possible. Okay, I'll go back to the community forum questions for now. Going for Cast 96's questions. His first question is, what was everyone's favorite thing that was either completed or worked on for this update? We kind of covered that earlier, did we?
Well, I guess, yeah. If anyone wants to say their favorite thing, that's fine. I think so far from the initial feedback, the community's favorite thing is the dynamic oxygen.
Yeah. I think dynamic oxygen and the graphics changes kind of attract a lot of attention.
Yeah, I guess other screenshots are about 50-50 about either impossible oxygen amounts or changing oxygen amounts or the new bloom effect or visuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he asks, or Cast96 asks, how do y'all feel about the current progress of development that Thrive is making? It's very impressive, and I really like it. It's just the question is sustaining it for as much as we can.
Yeah, I like the speed of progress as well, and well, I'm slightly worried that I'll be able to complete all of the tasks that I think I can do in a reasonable amount of time, and then we'll be left with the really hard stuff like the planet generator, which I think could eat up absolute ton of my time, like as much time as completing all of the other roadmap items in the version ranges total. So I'm kind of scared.
Huh. Yeah. Hopefully Game Dungeon does go work on that. Well,
Yeah, that
you
would be
volunteered him.
absolutely awesome.
Yeah, you volunteered him right now, so he's definitely gonna be on it.
Yeah, like he just shows up back from being a bit inactive and drops the entire planet generator and says,
There we go.
It is.
There you go. One can dream. Okay, and those are community forum questions. We can move on. Focus to the Thrive stream questions and the Thrive stream itself. Okay, someone asked, when will the Thrivepedia go beyond organelles? I think Buckley answers that well, when we have more complex features to showcase in it. Probably when we develop more of the multicellular prototype, which at that point would be not a prototype, but an actual game being worked on.
Yeah, that's basically the answer once there's stuff to put there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe technically we could already like grab the content from our wiki about the later stages, but I don't see much point. And a lot of it is not updated for the latest concept, so
out of date.
We kind of have a problem where it would be actually pretty nice to have a dedicated team member who really likes writing the wiki, so they would update it entirely.
Well, if someone has strong technical writing skills, then they're welcome to volunteer for the team and then help us with this.
And one drawback is that you can't actually like design the entire game yourself. You need to kind of write what we have agreed on. So
yeah,
a bit of a mechanical role and not as creative as someone might imagine.
Which, if someone has other expertise in that role they can bring, like programming, then they can have a more active role. But obviously, if someone joining for the purpose of the wiki is probably going to be focused more on technical writing. Okay, and then Tabat in the forums asks, how do you feel about spin-offs? Like fiction that uses Thrive. For example, I have World inspired by Thrive Space Stage. Mr. 42 knows about this. He can tell some about it if you're interested. Mr. 42, you want to talk about it, or?
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. He was talking about the space stage and a lot of concepts that might be interesting in future, but I'd rather talk about it after the stream.
Yeah, share a link if you possibly can in the Dev Discord, and we can probably look at it from there.
Yep.
But
and
Buckley
again answered that, well, Thrive is open source, so like if someone wants to make a derivative game, as long as they follow the DPL licenses and other stuff, they can legally do it, and it would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
See, I just hope that someone doing like an alternative Thrive doesn't get more popular than Astcast that could kill Thrive itself, but anything else I'll welcome.
Yeah, that'll make me very upset.
Yeah, that is an inherent problem with open source things. There's always the possibility of that happening, being sort of superseded by someone else using what you've done.
Well, still, one of the biggest problems with Thrive seems to be about getting people to care about the game. So I would be pretty annoyed that all of our efforts about outreach, someone might be able to do it better than us.
Yeah. I think Fim technically, he didn't make a spin-off per se, but a lot of his work and concepts for Thrive helped him make his own games on the side, which helped him explore Auto Evo a lot more.
I cheated on this team a couple of times. I made a fork. I made a derivative game.
What it was called?
Atoms in Time. It's if you know my auto Evo video, and I think most people in the audience do. I continued on with that and did a little devlog and made a side game while the CLA refactor was happening, because I was like, there's no way I'm contributing productively to this refactor. So I made a whole video game instead. Mr. 42 was involved as well.
Yep.
Oh well.
Word for it.
Yeah, Flynn was a Rolling Stone back in his day.
I'll show a bit of Drive gameplay on the stream.
Okay.
I'll probably
Flynn,
cheat a bunch to show off the new features.
Flynn Karn from the Thrive stream chat says, I love that game, but Atoms in Time is part is F. So you get some feedback right there.
That is fair. That is fair. I gotta touch that game again. It's been a while since I've done anything with it.
I just read some of the recent Drive reviews, and there was one negative one, that is that too hard game even with the tutorials, and they had played 1.5 hours of Drive.
They got intimidated after that 1.5.
I think that it's fair for people to be intimidated by the amount of stuff and literal mathematical equations we throw at people in the front. I would love to see some new playthrough videos of players who haven't touched it before, and just from the start playing around with it, see what people instinctively do and think, because as we start to wrap up microbe stage, is a good time to rethink our tutorials and what's really the most important 3 things to tell players just at the start to get going, and what doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would absolutely love to see new Drive gameplay videos from people who haven't played the game yet, because I don't think I've seen one in a year, so it's been quite a while. Yeah, I should turn on all of the new.
Scott Leslie asks, what is your favorite game? Thrive.
Thrive. But seriously, other than that, I was recently playing Faster Than Light Enough. A lot, I mean.
Oh, nice. Thank you for saying other than that instead of but actually.
Yeah.
I like Spore a lot.
Oh, Spore is great.
There's an old game called Jurassic Park Operation Genesis I loved as a kid. I need to download it again. I find it somewhere on the internet. It's probably vaporware. And Red Dead Redemption 2 was awesome. Yeah, those seem to be the top questions currently right now.
Did anyone check if Buckley missed any questions between when he left and someone else picked up answering?
I'm going through right now.
Okay.
Oh, C09 played Operation Genesis 2. Awesome. Yeah, I think that game kind of made me go down. That game kind of started my whole obsession with science, because I really like dinosaurs. That kind of introduced me to that, and then from there, I got interested in everything else. So, pretty significant chapter in my life. Someone asked if there will be multiplayer in the future. Currently there's no concept for it. There was a prototype for it, but we don't really know how that would. Maybe a battle royale kind of future.
There is a concept about the Cell Battle Arena, but
Yeah.
sadly the programmer who was doing that, doing all of the prototyping, and got to a pretty playable state, I think. But sadly they've since disappeared, so we can add multiplayer to the list of cursed features.
Yeah, I think that's something I would definitely accept not being in Thrive before we move on to future stages.
Well, yeah, it all depends on how much more people want multiplayer than other features.
Yeah, I would think max support would be more of an immediate priority than multicellular, for example. Cool. Seemed like the chat slowed down a lot, so looks like a lot of the questions have been answered.
You said like Mac port.
Sorry?
You say Mac port.
Oh, yeah, I said the Mac port I think would be more of a priority than the multiplayer.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
Because you said multicellular.
Oh, okay. Oops.
Yeah,
Really mean
I
that.
think you meant multiplayer and said multicellular.
Yeah,
Well, if
But,
there's 2 players and we each have a cell,
multicellular, I guess.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Well,
Someone says,
I think currently, I think we are about slightly above 40% of the required wish list backport to come back.
cool. Someone says, actual question, what are you guys focusing development on right now? Like right now. We discussed that earlier, though.
I think absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I'm taking
on Monday, I'll have to check the few pull requests that didn't make it into the release. One about jump force and one updating one more icon in the game. And then of course posting the release planning thread. Taking stock of all of the roadmap items which are complete. I think I'll remove them from the roadmap page on Monday to really show how few items there are left for the 0.7.x releases. And then try to motivate people with a forum post to try to take care of those issues rather than something else.
I'm gonna try to force myself to actually sit down and try to balance one aspect of Thrive. Maybe the storage thing I've been nagging about for a while, but I'll try to force myself to do that soon.
There's a new
because I think
ice chunk for this release.
Yeah.
I already said what I'm working on currently. Organelle revamps, and I'm trying to get it so that every organelle can just be a single mesh, so that can reduce the number of draw calls and hopefully increase overall performance, and also improve some of the visuals as well.
I think those will be appreciated.
So yeah, I gotta go now. So thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. We're about to finish the stream anyways,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Thanks for almost making it the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then see ya.
See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
I think I finally got to the point where I can introduce oxygen to the world.
Let's see.
I'll just skip to the next generation detail.
Someone asked, are y'all going to make water pressure have an effect on cells? Well, that sort of thing is kind of the reason why, or a big part of why freshwater tolerance is different from saltwater tolerance. So it'll be simulated implicitly through that. But, you know, as for the actual phenomena itself, probably not. It's probably too extensive of a thing to represent for immediate day-to-day simulation of Thrive. Do you think the microbe stage will ever allow for us to play as an amoeba-type creature? It kind of does in a way, if you have very fluid membranes, but if you're talking about, I forgot the exact kind of term for the its ability to expand itself dynamically or dramatically, like an amoeba. But if you're talking about that, we don't really have an effective concept for that. That isn't covered by other mechanics. So it might be something that's beyond our immediate focus for now. Cytopodia, that's what's called, yeah. Yeah, the difficulty with it is that, you know, gameplay mechanic wise, we already have something that attracts or increases the engulfment size of your target. You know, with Cilia enhancing the amount of attraction when you enter engulfment mode for small organisms. So beyond that, it's kind of hard to think of something that improves that or represents a unique thing for Cytopodia. Someone says, thank you all for the hard, unpaid work on Thrive. I hope this game gets more attention. Well, it's not all unpaid right now, which is where donations can help with us.
Not completely. I always have to thank the volunteers.
Yeah.
Extra hard because I'm actually getting paid from all of the donations and purchases on Steam, which greatly helps speed up the development time, so I can put in a ton of work into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But us unpaid volunteers also appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, I think we can begin wrapping up things if we wish.
Yeah, I just got in the game to the point where there is now a bit of oxygen and place the... No, I can't place the metabolism generation.
No,
just
no.
skip ahead a bit.
Well, the next live stream, we'll get to that point in your playthrough. So save it right now.
Well, I've usually not... Okay, yeah, there it is. They are not very effective yet.
Yeah.
Oxygen level. But maybe another photosynthesizer will. I guess now it's time to call for the last stream questions.
Yep. So if there's any last questions you guys have, ask them right now.
Or be silent for 2 months.
Yeah. Will dimorphism be a thing? Ideally, yes, but not in the immediate future. There's also different concepts for caste dimorphism as well. But again, that's also in the future. And, you know, the discussion of how we get to that point and steps before that still needs to be fleshed out. Could something like the Great Oxygen Extinction happen? Currently, no, because there's no toxicity related to compounds implemented yet. So, you know, organisms won't die out from the introduction of oxygen. But there could be an extinction from the opposite case happening, where oxygen drops dramatically, kind of like an algal bloom, and oxygen-based organisms starve out or choke, essentially.
Yeah, that can happen, and also for the sunlight eaters, if the CO2 level goes too low, then a bunch, like just happened in my batch that there was a bunch of photosynthesis being done, and now I think it's a tipping point, maybe. Oh no, actually, the species just die because they are bad. Like I've seen this natural balance kind of comes where it kind of fluctuates between higher and lower oxygen as like species get like are too inefficient and die out, or are efficient enough to increase in numbers.
As long as they're not still eating the sun, I hope we fixed that bug.
Yeah, that was a bug.
That was just in the experimental mode. I think
Fun
it's
fact.
still pretty unbalanced, but at least the sunlight doesn't disappear.
Yeah.
So
Fun
I
fact.
kind of agree that sunlight is like a scarce resource, because if all of the surface of the ocean is filled with bacteria, you cannot like see the sun below them as well.
Yeah.
And yet the ocean is not one endless algal bloom. One of my many lawn-related mysteries.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely look at. I'm sure
Well-
filter feeding has a
Well,
big...
I think some smaller oceans, like near Finland, they can get pretty overgrown, but
Yeah.
not totally still, but still like kind of pretty bad like conditions.
Someone says, why can't there be an option, or Beef says, why can't there be an option for other species to evolve ahead of the player? It is possible, for sure. It might be a bit rare, because the nucleus needs to have its own benefits attached to it. But that is definitely possible. You could have a eukaryote before you yourself become a eukaryote.
Yeah, that's possible, but there's no logic for the AI to move to the multicellular state, so that
Yeah.
kind of overtaking is not possible currently.
Yeah. Would putting cells in or GP Jetty asks, what types of terrain features are possible to be added to cell patches? Would putting cells in a maze make sense scientifically? A maze itself, maybe not, but cells do live in the orifices and the gaps within volcanic rock, for example. So that is a possibility. As for Thrive itself, terrain will probably be not necessarily like, walls, like in, platformers and things like that, but more, the distribution and behavior of chunk spawning, where eventually, hopefully we'll have models for big rocks. And then depending on the environment, so for example, the seafloor, maybe these rocks spawn in a way that's very kind of cagey and contained and has like these little grooves and orifices for ourselves to hide in. Whereas in the open ocean, the epipelagic, there is no terrain, so nothing is really floating that much. Or in the coastal areas, or in the river areas, estuaries, chunks move around a lot, and there's a lot of movement and chaotic activity there.
Did we have any final questions from the chat?
I think that's a good cutoff point. Those were the questions that were asked after our first final questions prompt. So.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's fine. So we've lost most of the developers and quite many of the viewers. So I guess we can end the stream.
Yep.
Stream now.
Yeah, sounds good. But thank you everyone for joining us, for my community members. You're the reason why this is possible in the first place, and all this advanced pace of development was really possible from voluntary donations and support of this game. So we very much appreciate you guys, and we're excited for more things to come.
Yeah, and in addition to monetarily supporting the game, you can if you buy the game on Steam or itch or join the Patreon, you are helping us. But if you have game development skills, you can join the team. I just posted the usual link. You can find info on how you can join the team. From there, if you have game dev skills, and of course, even if you don't, you can tell people about Thrive, because the more people know about Thrive, the faster the project can be made.
Yep. Yeah, and thank you for all the developers for being here for the Thrive stream.
Pleasure as always.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Thanks a lot.
thank you everyone. It was great to have you here, and we'll catch you for the next release.
Yeah, definitely. Before Christmas.
Yep.
Alright.
Take care.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.